This morning, families around the world are waking up, already connected. They're checking their sleep patterns, as well as the weather and urgent emails, or a favourite TV show from last night, or making plans with a friend while checking their bank account. This connected family is connecting across oceans and industries, to their doctors, home security systems, even the local barista. Connectivity in these smart homes is being built on new networks enabled by Accenture Communication, Media and Technology. Networks that are meeting and anticipating needs. All day, every day, that connectivity is enabling smart cities as well. Monitoring traffic patterns and providing vehicle-to-vehicle communication for safer, more fuel-efficient commutes. Improving revenue with smart metering. Helping public safety officials respond faster and provide real-time information for first responders. Monitoring weather and air quality for citizen safety. At the end of the day, Accenture solutions help reduce energy usage and light pollution with smart lighting. These solutions are connecting applications, devices and networks to achieve the optimal customer experience. For everyone, everywhere, Accenture CMT is more than CMT. It's a connected network.
Hello, this was a video that we presented at the Accenture board meeting a few months ago, not only to explain our Accenture capabilities to the board, but in a simple way, capture what does a pervasive network mean in other industries, not just in the service provider world, okay? So I'm George Nazi. I lead for Accenture the global network practice and the carrier transformation and innovation portfolio of services. Today we're gonna talk about capturing the promise of the pervasive network. Before we get to the promise, let us start with the disruption. We've seen many technology disruptions in many other industries. Similarly, in the service provider world, we have seen disruptions as well, where we went from fixed line services, switch services, and packet type services, frame, ATM, Ethernet, MPLS. And now we're facing one more disruption in technology, with software-defined network, network function virtualization, and what we've been discussing for the last 2 days. But this disruption, of course, is compounded by a disruption in the business model. So what's driving this acceleration and the need to move is the fact that there is a new disruption in the business side, and that means that service providers and telcos face certain choices that they have to make as they go through this journey. The acceleration of technology will really decide if service providers want to stay or move into an infrastructure-based, like Jack was talking about, Zayo, and be lean, mean, with a high profitability type services for now, make money in that space, or shift into the other extreme where you decouple from the infrastructure and you provide digital services, multi-sided platforms, and of course there's something in between that says you're a multi-platform, but at the same time have some of the infrastructure services. But you go from a B2B to a B2C, and you have to make choices. And that transition, that's especially in the next 5 years, as we've been discussing. And of course, that means we have to go through an S-curve, where you have today's infrastructure, products and services, which is tied to what you have today, and you want to transition to the new. With the existing infrastructure, you're making money, and that means you have time, but at the same time, the new capability requires time as well. And you have to be very good at operating this multi-speed capability, maintaining what you have as existing core or legacy, and transitioning to the new. So this is why in Accenture, we realize that there are certain fundamentals and essentials that are really needed in that transition. Because it's not just about technology. And these fundamentals and essential products and services that we think operators will have to do. The first one is really capturing the business side and the capability of the smart home, especially with network, video, security, IoT, all coming together with an AI-type operating system of the home in order to capture the value that you have at the home. Similarly, of course, you could do it at the enterprise level. And as you do this, you really need to be defining the customer experience, the journey, all the way with design studios on how you can enhance that capability from a client perspective, not just looking at the cost, because there's always the pillars of enhancing revenue, reducing cost, and most importantly, enhancing the customer experience, which gives you the revenue. The third element is the pervasive network, and we're going to click down next on this. And the fourth element, which is very, very important, is the cultural shift and the talent. So historically, we've had a separation between network operations, IT operations, IP engineering, and the software divisions. And this is just one example where all of these, with product development, will have to work in a very agile way in order to be able to create the minimum valuable products in a DevOps or agile methodology end-to-end. And that requires an upskilling of the talent, especially as we start leveraging analytics, artificial intelligence, which means the fifth pillar is absolutely important because that really drives and enhances the capability in the operator. All of these essential points really have to have two foundations. First one is to be able to operate in this multi-speed, managing the core, transitioning to the new, which is not easy. Because you have many of your profitable products and services tied all the way from the BSS, OSS, and the hardware to create the product. And now you're creating that decoupling in order to move to the new and provide new products and services in light of new entrants coming in. And the final one, which is, and it's been dominated in the last 2-3 days, which is security. Of course, very important capability that in Accenture we're investing heavy in order to make sure we tailor that to the client. So these are the essentials and the capabilities. And now what we want to do is click a little down into the platforms and the pervasive network. And again, I want to re-emphasize that in order to build the platform capability, it really has to be surrounded with an end-to-end operating model, kind of like what Steve said. Process automation is one of the most important pillars. And as DevOps come in, and you take it from the product to the engineering to the operations in an iterative cycle, that whole operating model of the lead to cash, trouble to resolve, concept to market, has to be really automated and implemented in a very agile way. Second, from a digital index perspective, KPIs, metrics, all have to be in the new, and how you will measure your capabilities, especially when you move into the agile capability. The third element, and I discussed, which is the culture and the talent. And finally, all of these journeys have to be focused on the customer experience. Okay? Now what we're going to do is take one click into the platforms. I'm going to ask my colleague Amol Fatki to come and take it one level down and present the platforms.
Thank you, George. Good morning, everybody. So, as George explained, I'm going to give you a little bit of a perspective in the next few minutes on what does the new architecture actually look like. Because we've heard over the last couple of days a lot around the wave of software-defined, the enormous promise of digital, and how does that actually sit with what George described around the S-curve, and how do we actually sustain what we have today while rotating to the new. So if you actually think about it, everything that we've said in the last couple of days notwithstanding, we still have, I would say, 3/4 of all our services today on the very traditional verticalized monolithic stacks that we've all collectively spent the last decade or more building. That is not going to go away overnight, and that is a fundamental presumption behind the rotation to the new architecture. But at the same time, the investment pools are going to start to get diversified. So over time, that particular current architecture is going to get depleted and diminished. And essentially what happens is the new architecture comes in and wraps itself around the existing. And that is a very fundamental point on the theme of rotation to the new, where you do need this bimodal speed of operation, and this is what we see in this picture. So the wave of digital has already hit us. As you know, all of the customer experience that George talked about is visualized today through the omni-channel experiences. And it is extremely important that the gateways that we are building collectively to federate B2B or to offer omni-channel to our B2C segments still have a bridge to what's out there. And so this is a fundamental point where the next layer of the architecture needs to be visualized as the all-important broker, which is the sort of API-based engine that actually connects the existing or the traditional with the new channels. And this is a fundamental point because a lot of the effort and the discussions that we've been having in the community has all been really northbound in terms of trying to understand what the customer experience looks like. But what's also fundamental to understand is what's happening under the hood, what's happening southbound, and how these APIs actually then work with not only this application marketplace that you heard earlier today, but how do they actually work with creating the abstractions necessary to build the bridge between the existing and the new. And then the most important area of investment, not surprisingly, is the end-to-end service orchestration. Now, you heard from several of our colleagues over the last couple of days that we do have a lot of ecosystem players coming in offering very specific and standardized solutions around specific areas of orchestration, whether it's resource, domains, infrastructure, or services. And then also a lot of the standards work that has been happening with regards to ONAP, but multiple other standards, is also focused on developing this end-to-end orchestration. We believe this is a fundamental tenet of the new architecture, that the end-to-end orchestration layer actually acts as a bridge between everything that we have today and everything that we're going to build in the new. And of course, sitting underneath that end-to-end orchestration layer is all the virtual function management layer. And I'm not going to go into the details of it, but you've already seen the several discussions that we've been having around whether it's the infrastructure management, whether it's NFVI, and so on and so forth. But fundamentally, the important point to clarify here is that we believe, based on the work we're doing with our clients, that the end-to-end service orchestration is effectively the bridge that actually ties the new functions with the existing. And then the final two layers, which are around analytics and around inventory, are also critical to understand. There's a lot of focus that you see today on using analytics to unlock value, to reduce churn, to increase the size of the wallet. What we haven't done so far collectively is invest in integrating analytics with the remaining architecture components. Without doing that, we can't really embrace the fact that network customer experience, which is analytics driven more and more, is tied to the channel customer experience. And this is where having that analytics investment and building that block in your overall architecture is extremely critical. And then the last point really is around the real-time inventory, where we have multiple data sources that are today in various disparate systems. And we really need to, again, invest in creating a unified view of the inventory, because that is the only way to then create the services that we all want to launch as quickly as possible on top, while still preserving some of the existing services that are high margin and are not going to really retire anytime soon. So the rotation to the new, to conclude, is really about having a new architecture that is also giving the due importance to existing while showing you a path to rotation to the new. So with that, George, back to you.
Thank you, Amon. So for the last probably 15, 16 minutes, we've covered the disruption, technology, business models, the what, the how, in order to go through the S-curve. But I also want to leave you with one other example where with disruption, opportunity is created. Similarly, in the energy sector, there has been disruption. As we know, Elon Musk has taken advantage of the disruption he's seen in the energy, not only with transportation, but similar to the pervasive networks. He has really expanded the capabilities of energy all the way into the home. And here you see an example where it's about the tile business. It's not the point that he wants to get into the tile business, but it's the point very similar to the pervasive networks and the board presentation I showed at the beginning, that what we have with this promise, it's very important to capture the capability of the network of now and the network of the future. Many smart people have jumped on the bandwagon. Technology is moving very fast. So don't leave yourself behind. That's what I want to leave you with. Thank you very much.